hello. Thank you for being in a new video. On this occasion, we have unboxing of the OnePlus 15. Let's get started. We are discussing the flagship product of this brand, which definitely has been intriguing since its first generation. Let's see what it offers. For now, a quick look at its specs. Its global launch price is $899, so it's worth seeing what this manufacturer offers. Let's begin by unboxing the device. It's expected that there won't be much inside, but let's see what's included. We're about to encounter this small envelope box together, so let's explore what's inside. Oops, I went the wrong direction. It seems to open from the opposite side. Let's find out what's inside. It's the classic OnePlus cable, still featuring that distinctive red finish. In my opinion, it seems to be missing a touch of modernity, but perhaps they designed it this way to maintain compatibility with the existing charger. However, it's worth noting that you will still need to purchase the charger separately if you wish to take full advantage of the maximum charging capacity available. In case you already had an original OnePlus charger, but it still won't support the maximum charging that this device supports, then I would have liked to see USB-C to USB-C. I think that would give it a touch more modernity. Plus, it's a cable that's not that long. But hey, that's what comes here included in the box, plus the usual paperwork. In this sense, there is not much to comment. And finally, right over here, you'll find the tool used for removing the SIM card tray, and it's also included. That's essentially everything in the box apart from the phone. As you notice, there's no case, no charger, and no headphones. Let me put this back before we shift our attention to the phone. We'll take the phone out of this bag or small cover, and we'll also remove its usual sticker. We have the phone right here, and we're going to power it on. While it's booting up, let's take a moment to quickly examine its design. The back has an incredibly smooth texture. Honestly, it's one of the softest and most luxurious phones I've ever held. It's truly impressive, and I must emphasize that no other phone has given me this exact sensation. You really need to hold it in your hands to fully appreciate how wonderful it feels. The frames, though metallic, have a finish that feels pleasant to the touch. Anyway, we've got the device set up, so let's get to know its specs. We found 8.1mm thick, and it weighs 211 grams. For this edition that I have in my hands, which is sandstone, because there are other versions that are slightly thicker and heavier, but apparently this material they have put here, we find something a little thinner and lighter. We find ourselves with metal frames, front protected with Gorilla Glass Victus 2 and also IP 66, 68, 69 and 69K. And what about the feel? It's super smooth. It's the nicest cell phone I've ever had in my hands. Regarding the feel in the hand, the screen is 678 inches in its diagonal with LTPO AMOLED technology with variable rate from 1 to 120 Hz, although in games it should be able to go up to 165 Hz, according to what the manufacturer says. So it really is a spectacular display in every way. It has a maximum peak brightness of 1800 nits overall. Of course, it supports HDR content, and note the bezels, they are exaggeratedly thin, which gives a super modern touch to the device. The screen has delighted me. I would only like to see maybe an anti-reflective finish that would help me avoid this kind of inconvenience, but, well, hope they work it soon. In sound, we will have something very positive. This is the main speaker, and there's secondary sound with dual output here. At first glance, the sound feels balanced and powerful. The sound quality is truly high-end. Often other devices aim for high-end status but compromise on certain features, especially sound, where manufacturers usually cut corners. But this device in sound does not make any kind of sacrifice. It sounds great, although it doesn't have an equalizer for the speakers, but at least in this case it doesn't seem to need any equalizer. Already as it comes from the factory, it sounds great. The front camera is 32 megapixels with f2.4 aperture and autofocus. In this case, it is a camera that uses the Sony IMX709 sensor. As you can see in this comparison view, the preview is still not well optimized, but after taking the picture, it does a good job. And also, in this case, it supports Pro XDR technology of the display, so that some areas of the picture can emit more brightness to give more realism. It looks great through the screen. The front camera is remarkably good. However, its preview should be improved. For the back, it offers us an ultra-wide-angle camera with an f2 aperture and autofocus, using a 50 megapixel sensor. The main camera is also 50 megapixels, with an f1.8 aperture, optical stabilization, and autofocus. It features a high-end Sony IMX906 sensor. And finally, the telephoto camera has 3.5x optical zoom with f2.8 aperture, using Samsung's 50 megapixel ISOCELL JN sensor as well. But let's look at a few examples quickly. Here's the ultra-wide camera, which looks really very good. I think this device has a very competitive camera. The main camera I like as well. It looks pretty similar in color with the ultra-wide camera. It gives you a crop of 35 millimeters. Note that it also gives you a crop of 48 millimeters. That is 2x of digital zoom. Then we jump to the telephoto camera, which still keeps the same color as the other cameras, which I really liked. Notice that it offers 170 millimeters crop, still maintaining optical quality. It looks great. In this case, we are talking about 7x zoom, which looks very good, but note the 10x zoom still looks practically with optical quality very, very good. Even when watching with 30 times digital zoom, it still appears quite good. Yes, you can notice it's digital, but honestly, I liked it a lot despite that. It begins to look a bit too artificial in photography, however, it's a device that lets you achieve, even reaching up to 120x digital zoom, which seems quite exaggerated to me, but hey, it will still be a very competitive device when it comes to cameras. Of course, we need to test it a bit more thoroughly, but I anticipate that it will indeed be a very good device in this aspect as well. Additionally, OnePlus has done a great job providing various photography modes. For instance, the device can slightly enhance shadows, which is often challenging for cell phones. We have a mode that the front-facing camera will enhance the action camera for quick motion photography, improving its performance. For video recording, it can achieve up to 4K at 120 frames per second with the main or telephoto camera and 8K at 30 frames per second, but only with the main camera. The truth? It has very good features. Even in K to 60 frames per second, it seems that it will be compatible with any of the 3 rear lenses, while in the front camera, if we find 4K, also to 60 frames per second available. I must emphasize that it performs exceptionally well. Naturally, it also includes exposure compensation, which provides enhanced control over lighting conditions. This feature is particularly useful in situations where the cell phone struggles to accurately interpret either the color or the lighting. Additionally, the cell phone includes the master mode, offering manual controls in various directions. You can also set up presets for quick photography in various styles, which I find amazing. Regarding the camera experience, the operating system is Oxygen OS, now in its 16 version, which is based on Android 16. Indeed, it will remind you quite a bit of Color OS from Oppo, as they do share several features. However, it has its unique identity stamp. For instance, you'll notice some graphics in different tones compared to what Color OS offers. The experience feels somewhat more refined in this aspect. Additionally, it includes several artificial intelligence functions, which I'll explain in detail in the video review. But for now, it also resembles intriguing in this way. What I really do not like is that, for instance, when you go into the security settings, it feels as if you are switching to a different operating system, turning into pure Android. This makes the experience quite unpleasant in this regard, as you do not get a sense of a well-controlled and unified operating system. However, it does come with a fingerprint reader that is integrated into the screen. This reader is ultrasonic and very fast. I should also mention that it works even if your finger is slightly wet, which is quite convenient. It's excellent. The battery is 7,300. It looks spectacular, though hopefully not just impressive data with disappointing usage. We'll test it in the video review, but for now, it seems like a great battery. It supports 80 watts wired and 50 watts wireless charging, but the charger is separate. Note that power delivery chargers can be used, but won't charge at maximum power since it uses its own SuperBot protocol. But it's time to talk about performance. It comes in versions of 12 or 16 GB of RAM, with 256 or 512 GB of storage. It should be noted that in this case the RAM is LPDDR4 and the storage UFS 4.1, which should help improve the speed of the entire system. Finally, the processor is the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. That is, it has plenty of power. But if you are interested in benchmarks, here are the results. In Geekbench, with a single core, it reached 3,643 points, and in multi-core, it reached 10,836 points. It is definitely very powerful. Even in Antutu, it reached 37,41,958 points, confirming us how powerful it is. We will see how it fares in all the tests we are going to do later in the video review. At this point, we are reaching the conclusion of this video. However, I want to remind you that we will soon release the video review, allowing you to enjoy it fully. If you enjoyed this content, feel free to let us know, and we look forward to seeing you next time.